If you ask yourself why we don't see rainbow in this time, you have to realize that a rainbow is a very special condition. Right now we have trillions of them, of rainbows. You cannot see them because they interfere with each other. In order to see a single rainbow that's very characteristic of a semicircle or half a circle, you will have to have very few conditions. First, you have to have the sun behind you. Here the sun is behind me. If you look at the shadow, the sun is behind me. Number two, you have to have clouds to obstruct the sun except a very small opening. The opening is the aperture. Aperture is like the pupil of the eye. If you don't have the opening or the aperture, you will have a lot of rays going through from the sun to the ground. They will interfere with each other. You get this kind of beautiful scene, but there is no rainbow. This is number one. The sun have to be behind you. Number two, you have to have clouds to obstruct the sun. The beam that penetrates the clouds will form the rainbow. How does the rainbow is formed? When the sun enters, when the sun rays or solar rays enter the atmosphere at about 10 miles high, the atmosphere is very thin at the top, and it gets heavier when it comes to closer to the ground, to the earth. So the rays bend through the gradient of the air, because the very light air doesn't bend a lot. When the rays come very close to the ground, they bend more. The blue line, the blue wavelength, bends stronger than the other wavelength. Then the green, then the yellow, then the red. Right now we see the blue. Why? Because the blue wavelength bends quickly. In the atmosphere, everything now looks blue, but also it looks white, because all the colors interfere. So number two, you have to have the atmosphere. The atmosphere creates the rainbow. So the question now is, why the rainbow is circular? And the other question is, why do you see it? Now you don't see anything. You have to have moisture in the air, not clouds. Moisture means vapor, water vapor. The moisture in the air will create like a screen, like a cinema screen, where the rainbow is reflected from that screen. So you have to have, in front of you, you have to have moisture or water vapor in the atmosphere. Right now we don't have any. Well, you have very little, but you don't see anything in the atmosphere. You see the mountains, you see the trees clearly, but within few hours the clouds will keep moving east. It will become heavier, and within 2 or 3 or 4 hours you are going to have very crowded skies. Any hole in this cloud will create an aperture. From the aperture, the rays of the sun that will penetrate will be split into spectrum. From the bottom will be the blue, then the green on the top, then the yellow on the top of the green, then the red all the way on the top. Of course, the ultraviolet will be absorbed in the higher layers of the atmosphere, and will ionize the atmosphere. The infrared will show up very late at the end of the day, because they are very hard to bend by the atmosphere. So why do you get the circular rainbow? Is because of the cone. The cone, which means you have to have a hole in the sky, in the clouds. A beam go through that hole will create a cone. So that cone will be circular. You are going to see a semicircle in front of you. Why it is circular, it is not linear, is because you have to have an equal distance because of your eyes So the rays that go all the way in the north will look to you as if they are bending to the ground. The rays that are in front of you in the east will look as if they are very high in the sky. And the rays on the south, they will look like bent to the ground. It is a matter of illusion because of the design of the human eyes. You have a pupil, you have a cone of light that you can see. From that cone, you will see that circular rainbow. Remember, the rainbow is not a physical thing, which means there is nothing there. You can go there and find out where the rays are. It is relative arrangement between your location on the ground, the location of the sun behind you, the location of the vapor water screen vapor in front of you, and there's a hole in the clouds behind you. So does the spectrum occur in the water vapor? No, the spectrum occurs up behind you in the higher atmosphere. When the sun rays penetrate the atmosphere and they travel many miles, thousands of miles from behind you. When they penetrate the atmosphere from the top to the bottom, they split into spectrum. That is the blue, the green, the yellow, and the red. So the formation of the spectrum happened because of the change of density of the atmosphere from the earth up there. And the curvature comes because of the visual cone, the design of the human eyes. And the reason that you see the rainbow is because of the water vapor. So that will answer all the questions. The rainbow is simply a reflection of the sun rays that penetrated that hole in the clouds, reflected from the screen in front of you, the screen of water vapor. It is not refracted. Refracted means bending through from one layer to another. The refraction happens very high in the atmosphere when the solar radiation penetrates the Earth's atmosphere, and it has to happen on thousands and thousands of miles, traveling from the sun horizontally. You don't see a rainbow in the middle of the day. The other myth, some people say if you are a pilot or anybody travels in high altitude, you can see a full circle. Of course, that is absolutely impossible. The reason that you have to see only half a circle is because the sun is above you and the atmosphere is only the layer above the ground. The atmosphere is not circular. The atmosphere is a layer on a circular surface. So you will never have a full circle rainbow. You cannot physically. It's not logical either. You can only have a circular rainbow. That is the reflection of the solar radiation from layers of water vapor. Of course, the clouds cannot reflect the rainbow. The clouds absorb it because the clouds have very large water particles. So they absorb the radiation and they look like this, gray. When they are heavy, they look very gray. And that white thing is because of the clouds are very thin, and the light they reflect it to you because the layers are single layers, not many layers.